Hello, everyone. It's good to be here again. I mean, it's lovely being here, seeing everyone present. Welcome to today's webinar. Welcome to today's webinar on operational efficiencies. I remain your lovely host, Naomi Achus, representing Brickhills Consulting. I'll be hosting this session and I'll be taking you through the session, introducing our speaker. I'll just speak a little about what Brickhills Consulting, what we do, and who we are before I introduce our speaker for today. So at Brickhills Consulting, we're all about empowering individuals and businesses to elevate their skills through the British Accredited Training Program. Whether you're looking to upskill in accounting, finance, project management, business analysis, engineering, caregiving, we have a broad range of courses. We are here to assist you with that, whether online, in person, or you need a virtual instructor. We're here to guide you. And we're also here to guide you through 3 different processes or steps. That is either the foundational level where you're just starting this program and you have no idea, or you're in the middle level, or you're looking to acquire a masterclass program, or you want a certificate, you want to be a guru in that field. We are here to also assist you with that. We are very flexible, we are very affordable, and at the end of the program, you have a British accredited certification to back up. This program is broken down into different phases. Once you get on our website, www.brickhillsconsulting.com, you get to see all your steps, the process, how you go through the program, you register, sign up, and it's really easy, is efficient, and is effective. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's speaker. She's a guru. She's going to be taking us on operational efficiency. That's strategies for thriving in a fast-paced world. And I'll just, speak a little bit about our speaker. So meet our speaker, Naomi Achus. She's a seasoned professional with 15 plus years of experience in business operations, process optimization, and change management. She has led successful projects across diverse industries, from energy regulation to higher education, leveraging both waterfall and agile methodologies. Currently the manager of business operations at the University of Calgary, Naomi specializes in streamlining processes, eliminating inefficiencies, and driving continuous improvement. She holds a master's in public administration from McMaster University and is pursuing an executive MBA, a certified expert in ProScience, change management, PMP, PMI, ACP, Scrum Master, and Agilist. Naomi is passionate about helping businesses adapt, thrive, and achieve lasting success. So Naomi is here to do justice to today. I would love for you to indulge and engage in today's session. Is going to be, she's filled with knowledge on operational efficiency, everything operations management. She's going to take us now for a couple of minutes, and if you have any questions, I would love you to note that down so that by the end of the session you could ask your questions. Over to you, Naomi. Thank you for being here.
Okay, well, thanks for that introduction. I'm just curious, am I good to share my screen now?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you are? Okay, so I don't want to jump the gun too much there. Okay, and just let me know if you are seeing.
Yes, perfect.
You're seeing the screen? Okay, perfect. All right, so this is operational efficiency, strategies for thriving in a fast-paced world. As you would have seen the description regarding this webinar, I just wanted to go over a few things related to operational efficiency. I think that there's going to be a lot of added value in which you can apply to both your everyday day-to-day tasks as well as in your career in terms of you advancing. So just welcome there. So by the end of the webinar, you'll know how to simplify work processes, boost productivity, and stay adaptable when things shift. So we're going to address 3 different areas in terms of operational efficiency. We're going to be looking at understanding process streamlining, boosting productivity, and then adapting to dynamic work environments. So there's one quote I just wanted to start with. And so some of you may be familiar with Thomas Edison. He's an American inventor, and he has about 1,900 patents to his name. So things like the light bulb, semiconductors will all be attributed to him. And he has this quote that I like. It's really simple, but there's a way to do it better. Find it. And so just keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. Always be looking for ways for continuous improvement, and that will put you in the right mindset. So first off, we can start with defining operational efficiency. So operational efficiency, it's all about getting the best results with the least effort and resources. It includes simplifying processes, using resources wisely, and always looking for ways to improve. So again, that continuous improvement mindset. So why it matters. You want to boost your productivity and performance. This, of course, will probably lead to greater growth in your careers. You also want to reduce costs and eliminate waste. So depending on where you work, you want to be able to demonstrate to them that you are providing value to your company or your organization. It also improves employee satisfaction and morale. So in terms of employee satisfaction, you're going to probably feel more fulfilled in your workplace if you are able to demonstrate that you are adding value through operational efficiency. And then lastly, enhancing adaptability in the changing environment. So with changes in organization, we see shifts happening all the time, whether it's new leadership, whether it's new changes to the organizational structure. You want to remain adaptable so that you can respond in a quick manner to those changes and be a champion of operational efficiency. So what are signs of poor processes in an organization? So think to yourself, and you don't have to be looking at it or putting it in the chat, but just think to yourself in terms of what is a sign of poor processes in an organization and what have been those symptoms of it. So just think closely. So this here is an example. You'll see on the screen there is the healthcare.gov. And the healthcare.gov, this was actually it's considered a well-known example. Essentially, what happened here is that in 2013, they tried to roll out, the US government tried to roll out this system to support the Affordable Care Act. So we had a lot of Americans trying to access the system. However, the launch was plagued with a series of issues. You had technical glitches. So the website had numerous problems. It was slow to load. There was frequent crashes. You also had poor coordination. So there was a lack of coordination amongst the various contractors and government agencies involved in this project. This led to miscommunication and delays. There was also inadequate testing. So the website was not adequately tested before it launched, and this resulted in unforeseen problems when it went live. And then lastly, there was high costs. So the initial cost of the website had an estimated 93.7 million USD. But due to the inefficiencies and subsequent fixes, the total cost ballooned to over 2 billion. So that's over twice the amount that they had initially allocated. So just think to yourself, like that is a case study in operational efficiency. So these are some things that probably would have attributed to that. And think back to the example you have in your head. Some of the symptoms probably were frequent delays, redundant tasks, high error, bottlenecks, and then poor communication. Some other things would be a lack of automation. Maybe you had individuals doing things manually that could have been automated, and then inefficient workflows. So these are classic examples where you can find operational efficiencies throughout anything that you have probably experienced that was quite frustrating in terms of carrying out a process. So what are some strategies? So very first, I would recommend automation. So wherever possible, please look to automation to handle repetitive tasks. So with automation, you can institute a software or something that would have a degree of traceability in terms of delivering on a product, rather than manual processes. So try to do that to reduce that human error. Secondly, we have process mapping. So you want to visualize workflows to identify inefficiencies. So what I mean by this is that you want to start mapping it out, whether it's in a software like Visio or even a whiteboarding exercise where you map out a process and really go through it to see what is needed as mandatory versus what are just extra steps that are creating inefficiencies. And then lastly, we have delegation. So what you want to do is assign tasks based on skills and experience. And so looking to see what are things that you need to be doing versus what can you delegate to others. And the higher up you go in an organization, the more you're going to rely on delegation because you are one person. And if you want to be efficient, you need to focus on the strategic, and the tactical pieces you probably want to delegate to someone else within the organization with that skill set. So some tools for process optimization. So you can look at tools like MS Project and Planner. I work in a regulatory project space currently, and so this helps us manage projects. We also have some customized software options that we also have purchased, such as Workfront. For automated tasks, you can use something like Zapier and Slack to keep communications clear and organized. So just some suggestions there. I'm sure that you have other tools within your organizations, but yes, these are just some that I've used in the past that have been effective. So the second part of this is boosting productivity in organizational, including improving operationalization and efficiencies. So with boosting productivity, you want to understand productivity. So productivity means getting meaningful work done efficiently by staying focused and managing your energy and making the most of your time. So trying to make sure that you're doing things in a meaningful way as opposed to just checking off items off a list, like making sure you're prioritizing and doing things most effectively. You also want to focus on some key elements. So you've got to focus on staying on task. So for instance, on average, it takes about 23 minutes and 15 seconds to refocus after a distraction. So this time can vary depending on the nature of the task at hand. If you find yourself getting distracted while working or studying, you may need to turn off notifications from your devices. And if you work remotely, you want to try to do so in a space that is absent from distractions. Another key element here is energy. So our energy tends to drop throughout the day. So right now, I'm in Mountain Standard Time. It is, like the morning for me. So for you, depending on where you are, it may be the evening. So really, if you're energetic in the morning, that's probably where you want to focus your high priority items because you've got the most mental stamina. And as you go throughout the day, you may be a little less alert. So just considering what time works for you in terms of taking on those tasks that need that focus. And then lastly, we have effective time management. So you may want to come up with a to-do list to identify what needs to get done that day, and then make some time estimates to complete each task. So key productivity metrics. So you may be thinking, why measure productivity? And that's because it helps track progress and identify improvement areas. So you can measure task completion rates. So that's the time spent per task and the output quality. And task completion rates. You have also time spent per task and then output quality. So task completion rates, you want to see how fast you are getting some items done. Time spent per task. So if it's a more complex task, it may take a little bit more time. So that means your output is probably a bit lower. And then lastly, output quality. So you want to make sure you ensure that quality, because if you're just productive in the sense that you just get a lot of things done, but the work is subpar, that's not really going to help you. So you're going to make sure, or you want to make sure that you maintain that quality even when you're being productive. So building a productivity mindset. So make sure that you set clear goals. You want to cultivate discipline, and you want to celebrate the small wins. And by celebrating the small wins, I mean, whether it's at an individual level, offering yourself a little bit of a reward, but then also if you're in a team dynamic, maybe have some milestones that you and the team can be working towards, and then you celebrate those milestones once they're getting achieved. So here are some productivity hacks. Now, I know it says for young professionals, but I think that this can be applicable to any stage of your career. So one is the Pomodoro technique. So that's where you focus for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. So the benefits to this method is it can help you stay focused and manage tasks more effectively. It can also help you procrastinate a bit less, and it can help you complete more tasks in a reasonable time. Another one here is time blocking. So for time blocking, you schedule specific time for tasks. So I do this quite a bit because I'm in a lot of meetings every day. I'm in about 8 to 9 meetings a day. So I need to block off time to actually as focus time so that I can get work done. And I ask people not to book over that time. So that's just one strategy you can do in your calendar just to maintain that you have enough time to achieve tasks. Another last one here is prioritization. So that's the Eisenhower matrix where you look at urgent versus important. And so I'm just going to go into a visual and just go through in a little bit more detail around that Eisenhower matrix. So how it works is you create this 4-box grid with the x-axis labeled urgent and not urgent. And the y-axis is labeled important and not important. So what you do is you'll group your tasks into one of these 4 boxes, and you take specific actions based on the quadrant your task falls into. So what you do with each task. So you have urgent and important in the green, so you do this task immediately. You don't wait on this. It has deadlines and it has consequences. Then you can move to not urgent but important. So this is where you schedule this task for a later date. So that's the orange there. So tasks with unclear deadlines that contribute to long-term success. Then you have urgent but not important. So that is in the blue. So you delegate this task to somebody else. And so you look for somebody with that skill set or that expertise that we spoke to earlier. And then lastly, you have the last quadrant, which is not urgent and not important. And I recommend you delete this task. And this is the guidance here too in this matrix, is to delete it because this probably has no business value for your organization. And so this is a nice to do, or really what you can call a passion project. So just moving along, we're now at that 3rd stage of operational efficiency, and that is handling dynamic work environments. So with dynamic work environments, you're probably in a workplace that has changes being implemented, some probably more rapidly than others. So you want to be making sure that you're adapting to new technologies and different challenges as they arrive. So staying adaptable, that's what's going to help you succeed. And you're going to be the person that people go to because you're flexible. If you remain too rigid in your way of thinking, it's going to impact your ability to adapt. So we got tips to remain adaptable. So for one, you want to embrace continuous learning. What you want to do is make sure that you're updating your skill sets. So even being on a webinar like this is one example. So you use the feedback, or so you use what you learned from your webinars, or whether it's courses you're taking or certifications that you're working towards. That's what's going to help you stay ahead of the curve. So you can use all of that experience and that knowledge to help you address any operational inefficiencies in your organization. Another way to remain adaptable is to be proactive in seeking feedback. So you can use feedback to identify your strengths and also understand where there are opportunities for improvement. And then lastly, develop decision-making skills. So decision-making skills are fundamental, especially if you want to move from being staff or into leadership. You're going to need to know how to make decisions. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time to make these decisions, but a key thing is you have to be decisive. If you need to stop and seek some input, do so, but make sure that you're making that decision so that you can communicate it clearly to those who are impacted. So some common mistakes to avoid. For one, you want to avoid ignoring feedback. So overlooking team and customer input can lead to inefficiencies. So imagine if you're a company or you're a startup and you're ignoring customer feedback. Now that is direct um, information that you can use to improve your product. So if you're not accepting this feedback, that's going to lead to problems down the line and probably impact the success of your startup. So constructive feedback helps identify areas for improvement and also those bottlenecks as well. Another mistake to avoid is overcomplicating processes. So sometimes there's just too many steps or unnecessary procedures that slow down productivity. So you really want to look to simplify processes as much as possible and improve efficiency. So if you're looking to eliminate extra steps or find ways to look at like a process workflow and determine, is this just a nice to have or is this mandatory? And X out any processes that are redundant or just too complicated that they are causing confusion and leading to those slowdown in terms of your productivity. And then lastly, we have failing to adapt to changes. So this, again, is sticking to outdated methods that can hinder growth. So you've probably encountered this where you're in an organization and you have a new idea and you've brought it up to maybe leadership and they've kind of shut it down or they haven't paid attention to it because they're so set in their ways of thinking. So failing to adapt to changes, this can really, really impact the outcome of success for organizations. Some classic examples could be things like Blockbuster. They used to exist. I'm not sure if you've been to a Blockbuster, but they're video rentals. Things like Netflix and streaming services were coming into the mix, and they ignored that. They didn't change their business model to change with the times. And so what happened is they got phased out, and then it became too late for them to start to transition into the streaming. And Netflix had complete domination over that market share. So not like sticking to outdated methods can have some serious implications on even the viability of your business. So you want to embrace innovation and flexibility just to ensure that long-term success. Another thing that you need to consider is collaborating and the collaborative work culture. So you want to work with others to bring ideas and better solutions. And one way to do that is through clear communication. So you want to be concise and clear using communication tools wisely that are catered to the appropriate audience. You want to build trust. So you do so by being accountable, trustworthy, and through team building. So people tend to really not want to work with people they don't trust. So make sure you are one of those people that they can depend on, and that when you say you're going to do something, you do it, and they know that they can count on you and you are an accountable person. And then lastly, we have shared goals. So what you want to do is adopt shared goals and vision and a clear path on how to get there. So those are just some key things to consider when you're in a collaborative work environment. Now, what if you're a leader? So what is their role in driving operational efficiency? So one is you want to set those clear expectations. So you want to define goals, roles, and responsibilities to align team efforts. You want to communicate objectives effectively to avoid confusion. So just going back to what I said about being decisive, you definitely want to be decisive so you can increase that communication flow. If you're changing your mind all the time, people don't know what the goalpost is. They don't know what to work towards. So communicating effectively is going to go a long way. Also providing feedback and support. So offering constructive feedback to enhance performance to the team and equip team members with necessary resources and training. So making sure that they're set up for success. If you ask people to do something and you don't really play a hand in how it gets done and you don't offer discipline and accountability. And you also want to foster a culture of efficiency and continuous improvement. So what are some key actionable steps that you can take today to start to improve your operational efficiency. So I would ask you just to identify one process to improve this week. Analyze a daily task and pinpoint one inefficient process and try to find a way to simplify, automate, or streamline it. So it could be anything as simple as, getting to work in the morning. Have you found that you're constantly late? Is there a way that you can find an efficiency in that process? Are you building in time? Are you taking a different route? So just find something even simple at that level that you can improve this week. Secondly, you might want to adopt a new productivity tool. So choose a tool that enhances workflow. So anything from like project management or automation or time tracking, this is something that you should consider in terms of implementing that operational efficiency, is getting a tool that's going to help you do that. Something as simple as like checklists are a quick way to enhance your productivity. And then training your team and integrate it into the day-to-day. You also want to commit to learning one adaptability skill. So stay ahead. And so this is going back to that continuous learning piece, developing skills like problem solving, flexibility, or embracing change, and then apply the skill in real work situations. So those are the three there that I think that you can do this week alone that will start to improve operational efficiency. And this can extend to not just work, but even just in your daily tasks that you're doing. So thank you. And any questions there?
Yeah,
I'm not
hello.
seeing any hands come up, but maybe there's something in the chat.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
It was quite a great one. I enjoyed every bit of it. So my question basically was on the Hyacinth power metrics. Can you hear me?
Sorry,
The
it's a bit
Hyacinth.
hard to hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now? I said
Way
my
better,
question
yes.
basically was on the Eisenhower metrics. Because I've been around a lot of friends and colleagues, and we had some banters and arguments on the Eisenhower metrics and how it oversimplifies decision making in the complex work environment. So I want to know what's your take on it and how it can help adapt to the modern workspace.
Okay, I think that with this, like, it's meant to be a simple tool, right? And there's going to be complexities with every single situation, but really it's just supposed to be a prioritization tool. So if you're looking at things from like a day-to-day basis, you're not going to want to spend too much time thinking about what is it that I have to do today. Like, you're going to want to bucket these really quickly. And if there's a lot of talk about, the methodology and the oversimplification, the point of it is really just to prioritize your work from the day to day. So if you have a bunch of tasks, yes, there could be some disagreement with what you delegate, for instance, but as long as you have a clear communication to the individuals impacted, I don't foresee that there should be too many issues. And justifying why it is you consider this task to fall within each one of those different quadrants.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure if I answered your question there, but that's my approach to it. Is you like talking about productivity tools will just lead to more churn. Really just acting quickly and communicating why it is you've chosen to put something into a bucket will help.
Okay, so do we have any more questions?
Good day, ma'am. Thank you for this amazing presentation. Now, I've been in the IT field for above 10 years. I want to know, where does IT role in operations? Now, I don't mean the configuration, installation, all that troubleshooting. I mean, like, do we have a big role in operation?
Okay, so sorry, can you repeat the question there? Like, what is IT's role in operations, or?
And yeah, I don't mean the basic troubleshooting, configuration, installation. Do we have a bigger role in operations?
Okay. Well, to me, it seems like operations or IT definitely is related, to operational efficiency. So if you're like, let's say you're developing software, and that could not that maybe that's different from your situation, but just to use an example, if you're developing software and you're finding that there's like a lot of bugs and things like that, you're probably going to want to see what kind of process you can implement so that you can detect things a bit faster. So you're probably doing things in increments, like that's one way, using agile methodologies so that you can make sure that what you're producing actually relates back to the end user and it's something that you can change throughout the process, as opposed to developing something in a silo and then having a product that doesn't speak to the user at the ending. So I think that in terms of IT, there is a big role that IT can play because they deal so much with workflows and so much with processes that there's strong opportunity there, I think, to apply some of these methods in terms of delivery.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other questions? Any more questions for Naomi?
Yeah, I don't see two other hands up. But,
Just a personal question. What made you decide to go into operation?
So I would say that, like, I've been in strictly business operations type roles, but I would say that what attracts me to it is that continuous improvement piece. So just going back to that quote, like, find a way to do it better. So really having, and this could apply to every aspect of work, not just operations, but how can you improve on what you've currently done? I've also have a background in change management, and so I've always been passionate about the application of efficiency and then also adopting that change and helping facilitate that change throughout an organization. So those are some components that have always resonated with me. And yeah, that's all I really have to say, because yeah, I've kind of gravitated to those kind of roles.
Okay, I think we have a question from the messages from Princess Monica. I don't know if this is still within the scope. As a project manager, how do I navigate my team simultaneously experiencing burnout? So I think for project managers, yeah.
Okay, for project management. No, that's a fair question. And so, like, I currently manage a team of like 13 project managers. And so and they all work on different projects within the organization. So that is definitely, a fear of mine is people getting burnt out. And I think that just going back to what I went over, you want to make sure that you are collaborating effectively. I think sometimes you want to also address what is the root of that burnout. Why are they being burnt out? And then you can start to do almost like a root cause analysis of why that burnout is happening. And sometimes it's different things. Maybe it's stakeholders, maybe it's the productivity of the actual project, maybe things aren't going as planned, or maybe it's even a job satisfaction situation. So really getting to the root cause of that and then helping to work with them and support them in their PM capacity so that they have the tools to overcome it. So that's really what I would suggest, is really getting to the root cause of why they're feeling burnt out and then seeing if there's ways to intervene so that you can help support them.
Okay. I can see hands up. So if you have more questions, you can ask quickly, please. You can unmute your mic and ask question.
Okay, so good evening, Naomi. So when you do root cause analysis, what type of root cause analysis do you do? Like, what pattern do you think is best? Do you do?
I can't really say. Sorry, continue.
And also, are you a business analyst? Because I can see, or is there a line between business analysis and project management? Because like I hear you speak, and I feel like you do both of them. Yeah, they're intertwined.
To answer your second question, I'm not a business analyst by training, but I am certified as a project manager, and I know that they're interrelated. So if you're a business analyst, you're always going to be looking at processes and ways to improve those processes. So I think you can apply the same principles, whether it's project management or business analyst. But to your first question around root cause analysis, there's many methods that you can use for root cause analysis. One of the more common ones is like asking the 5 whys. And so you keep asking why. So if there's a first question, you say why. So if you see a car crash, for instance, why did that car crash happen? And then the answer could be that the car brakes, the car did not brake. Why was the car unable to brake? Because the brakes were worn. When was the last time? Why were the brakes worn? The individual didn't go to service the vehicle. So you keep asking why until you go down to the root of that. There's other methods like a fishbone analysis method, and I won't get into that. You can Google it. You also want to be asking those questions and not stopping prematurely to make a determination. So you want to explore a few methods, ones that are appropriate for your current situation. And if you want me to follow up, I can definitely drop a few more afterwards that may be useful for your situation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to ask, which method do you think is best, the agile method or the waterfall method, or do you feel like both of them can work together?
So it's depends on your situation, right? Like predictive versus iterative. Predictive being waterfall, iterative being agile. I think that there is definitely a shift towards agile. So a lot of areas are starting to adopt a hybrid method as they shift towards getting more agile expertise in their camp. And so many, like if you're in IT, you're probably going to be purely agile, right? Like if you're developing software, if you're in that space, predictive is modifications that are quick and adapting to your user needs. So I definitely think it depends on the situation that you're in. I mean, if you're building a house or you're in construction project management, you're probably going to use a predictive or a waterfall method. The steps remain the same. You're able to plan it out, and things will likely stay in that sequence because you're not going to be doing an end product and painting the house before you frame it. You know what I mean? So it really depends on the situation, but I have seen more of a move towards agile methods.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question from Mr. Dari. He says, good evening. What's your view on the role of AI in project management, and how can it be used to improve the process and improve yourself as a professional?
Oh, that's a really good question. I know that we're currently trying to increase our AI capabilities in my organization, and so AI definitely is going to help you with some of those tasks. And when we talk about automation or we talk about tools that are going to help you be more efficient, you definitely want to leverage AI to help you with those tasks that would otherwise take a very long time. So within the realm of, let's say, project management, you're going to want to use it for things like developing plans, like stakeholder engagement plans, maybe a communications plan, just those things that will help you generate a template. But I do want to say that once you use AI, it's a good starting point. Be very particular about what it's generated and also how you need to modify it so that you can make it cater to your situation. So don't apply AI in a pure sense. You want to make sure that you are adapting it for your situation, because sometimes it generates things that aren't applicable to you. So you don't want to be handing things in from AI that you haven't read or modified yet. So I just want to predicate it with that. But I do see that there is a huge shift towards applying AI in those tasks that can be very time consuming, but necessary to do.
Okay, so we have another question. I'll take this question and I'll take one more question from the audience. So this is from Linda. She says, which of these strategies would you say had the biggest impact on your career? I don't know if she's talking about the waterfall and the agile. Yeah.
Maybe she can clarify before I answer.
Yeah, I think it's the waterfall. So which of the strategies would you say had the biggest impact on your career?
I would say it's starting to learn agile. To be honest, I started with waterfall. I got my PMP, and just applying that to the day-to-day for projects. Primarily, those were within the government sector, so it seemed to work fine. But I think what was the game changer was learning the agile methodologies and trying to implement them within my current workspace. So being that champion for agile methods, I've gone on to get agile certification from PMI. I've also done the Scrum Master training and got that certification as well as the Scaled Agile Framework training. So I think that has had the biggest impact, because I think it allows us to adapt to change and changing dynamics more effectively.
Okay, Linda, I hope that answers the question. So do we have any other questions on this?
Yes, I have a
one.
question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, what are the most overlooked triggers that drive decision making and can be used for growth?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Okay, what are the most overlooked triggers that drive decision making and can be used for growth in any organization?
I'm getting a lot of feedback. Is it possible to type the question in the chat?
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other question from the audience before we get the last question?
Yeah, I have one more question, still on the Eisenhower metrics though. So as a leader that spends too much time on the quadrant 3, which is the urgent but not important, what are the long-term consequences of this behavior, and how can I escape the urgency trap?
That's a very good question. And so I'm not sure how you're structured organizationally, but one method that I try to use is let me start with this saying, if everything is important, then nothing is important, right? And so really trying to hone in, why is it considered extremely high priority or urgent and important? And so if this is being handed down to you, I think one approach you can take is that you can probably speak to maybe your direct leader and ask them, I've been given X amount of items which have been determined to be important and also urgent. However, if I'm to serve all of these, and give them the attention and focus they require, I'm going to need X, Y, Z. Maybe it's more resources, maybe it's more this and more that. And that way you put it back into their court, or you say that these other things that I've prioritized will now have to go into these different quadrants or have to be considered lesser, because everything can't all be considered important and urgent. And so by doing that, you have put it now on your leadership to help you in that prioritization process, because you can't ensure that things will get done on time, and you can't ensure that they'll have that same level of quality. So that's one strategy that I've adopted when I've been giving too many tasks that are considered urgent and also and also a high priority.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I hope that answers your question. Any other question? Because any other questions before we wrap up the session?
I think I see one where Zinclaret has put her
Okay.
question there.
Claret says, can you share can you share an example where a company's growth strategy backfired and what lessons were learned?
I'll go back to that example I used during the presentation on Blockbuster. And so Blockbuster video, you go in and you rent videos and or DVDs. They were big in the 90s. And their growth strategy was just to increase locations. So you couldn't go one block, at least where I live in Canada, without seeing a Blockbuster. So there were locations everywhere. And so they grew way too fast. Another thing too is that they didn't adopt streaming. So when they saw Netflix doing the streaming, they thought, that's a fad. But that was the future. And so rather than focus on getting the streaming services instilled into their business model, they continued with bricks and mortar and just expanding and building more stores. And then it became a situation where people started streaming more. They weren't going in to rent videos. And so you walk into a Blockbuster, it was empty. And soon after, they started seeing their revenue decrease. And now it completely backfired. They had to now start closing stores, and you don't hear about them anymore. So this is a classic example that they didn't adapt to change. Their growth strategy was flawed. It didn't consider the changes happening in the marketplace, and then they had to react in a way that led to their downfall.
Well, that's awesome. Okay, so we have another question here. Can you share more decision-making tools and the best? Can you share more decision-making tools and the best decision?
So for decision making, I can definitely say what I've used, but I can't say anything is the best, right? Because everything is very situational. So if you do want to make decisions quickly, you also need to assess what is the impact of this decision, right? So thinking to what impact will this decision make? Is it something that is going to be, you can even do a risk analysis on this decision. Is it going to have a high impact? And if me not making the decision right now, is this going to have a high consequence as well? And so you can almost use risk management methods in terms of decision making. Another thing you want to incorporate is, do you even have to be the person to make that decision, right? Is this something that's above your pay grade, or is it something that you can delegate to another individual on your team, which does one thing of empowering them to make a decision? So these are the types of decisions that I should be making within the realm of where I'm at. These are the ones that are higher than me. And then these are the ones that I can delegate to somebody on my team because they're instant decisions. And so if you have a project team and you're a manager of some PMs, I'm not going to be making decisions on their project teams. That's for them to do. They're empowered to do so. And then if they have anything that is any questions to me, or if they need me to talk about budget or what the budget that has been approved, things like that go above what their capabilities is, then they can engage me and I can get that information for them. So really knowing how to understand what is it the decisions that you need to be making, and then once you make the decision, being decisive so that you're not constantly flip-flopping, changing your mind and confusing everybody as to what it is they need to be doing.
That's a very, very, very interesting answer. We have two more questions popped up on the chat. I think we would just take the last two questions and wrap it up. So, what's recommended risk management methods? So, like, what risk management methods do you recommend?
So it also depends on what kind of risk you're trying to manage. But risk management methods, there's some key ones. But what I would recommend that's really basic, right, is you've probably seen like a heat map or a matrix for risk management where you have the probability of it versus the impact of the risk. And so what you want to do is you want to ensure that you're mapping it correctly. So making sure that you are in tune with what is the probability of that risk, what is the impact, and then scoring those two, and having a scale in terms of what each score means. So some will go into the high, medium, and low. So high means you need to respond to this risk with a risk mitigation tactic immediately. Those are things that you want to consider because they have a high probability and a high impact and can destroy whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. You've got the medium ones, which probably have not so much of a high probability, something in the middle, and then a medium impact. And then you have the low probability, low impact. So those are things that probably are risks that you can accept. So I think just starting out with a simple risk matrix may be an effective method for you to analyze and then treat that risk.
Okay. So our final question of today: how do you identify stakeholders on a project and their capabilities and the process for change on a project?
Okay. So if you want to identify stakeholders in a project, like one of the key things in project management is stakeholder analysis. So you definitely want to start to utilize like stakeholder engagement plans, also doing stakeholder analysis to see what is it that motivates them, and then also how are they impacted by what you're trying to do on a project. So just being very attuned and having those plans in your arsenal is very important. And then I think you have something about who approves.
And who approves the project? So how do you identify stakeholders on a project, the capabilities, and the process of the change on the project?
Okay. So I think one part I missed there when I was giving the explanation is the process for change. You want to also assess with each stakeholder their capacity. So if you've ever heard of ProSci, they have something called ADKAR. So you have like the awareness of the change, you have the desire for change, you have the knowledge of the change, you have the ability to change, and then you have the reinforcement of that change. So you want to assess against each stakeholder group where it is they fall for each element in that ADKAR model. So that's going to help you in terms of doing any change management with these stakeholder groups. Who approves? I think any of the artifacts that I talked about, whether it's the stakeholder engagement plan, stakeholder matrix, you definitely within your project want to have a governance structure where you bring these plans forward so that they can review them and approve them. Or you can just look to your project sponsor to be the approving body for these elements. But typically you would have like maybe a steering committee or a governance structure that has that steering committee, and you take those items forward and they approve it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Thank you very much. Hope Naomi was able to cover each and every one of your questions. If you have further questions or you're a bit confused about anything, you can always send us a message, an email, and we would definitely address those questions. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you, Naomi. This was an insightful session. I personally grabbed a lot from this session, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners also gained a lot from today. And, thanks for being here with us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And if you have further questions or you want to take this course personally, you want to take the in-person program, or you want to take the virtual class, or you just want to take a class at your own pace and get your certification, you can definitely hop on this program, the operational management and the effectiveness of operations strategies. And you can hop on our website, check for further information, and sign up with us today on www.brickhillsconsulting.com, or you can check www.brickhillsonline.com and sign up, register, select your courses. We have other wide range of courses, from project management to engineering to hospitality to business analysis, finance, and and so on and so forth. Other management courses that can help you upskill in your professional life and even in your personal life as well. So we're glad to answer all your further questions, and you have to stay tuned with us for our next month's webinar. It's going to be insightful. You're going to learn a lot from it. And this webinar is going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel for those that joined late. So you can go through the webinar on your own on the channel, and you can also drop your comments and your questions and how you feel. We have our other social media networks like Instagram and our Facebook, LinkedIn. You can connect with us there, and we'll be happy to work with you. So without further ado, I would like to say thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we see you next month. And Naomi, do you have any closing remarks before we?
No, just thank you for inviting me here. And I've just put my LinkedIn contact in the chat. If you do have additional questions, or if there's something you want me to expand on, feel free to reach out and send me a message as well.
Exactly. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. See you next month, and take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.